अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं अपने एजुकेशन वाली रेहान कोई अपने स्टूडेंट हूँ। मैं आज मैं कर रही हूँ
What I like.
और आज का हमारा टॉपिक है हाउ
I'm right here.
थिंक क्रिएटिवली एंड सॉल्व प्रॉब्लम इफेक्टिवली।
Love that energy. What's making you feel so effective today?
What does creative thinking mean to you?
I'm not sure who him is in this case. Could you tell me who you're talking about?
Can creative be learned or is it something people are born with?
That's the $1,000,000 question. I think it's a bit of both, but mostly it's a muscle. You can be born with a natural curiosity, sure, but the actual act of creating is something you practice. It's about giving yourself permission to be messy and trying connections that don't normally go together. Do you feel like you've always had a creative streak, or is it something you're trying to build right now?
Why is creative thinking important in daily life?
It's basically your secret weapon for getting unstuck. When you stop looking at things as how it's always been done and start asking what if, everything becomes a bit more interesting. It helps you solve the boring problems, like figuring out a better way to organize your day much faster. Plus, it just makes life feel less like a script and more like an adventure. Do you find yourself using that kind of thinking more in your studies or in your personal life?
Is the difference between creativity and intelligence?
Those are two completely different animals. Creativity is about expansion, coming up with new ideas, imagining things that aren't there, and playing with possibilities. Integrity, on the other hand, is about alignment. It's the steadiness of your character, doing the right thing even when no one is looking, and staying true to your values. One is about how you think, and the other is about how you live. Do you feel like they ever clash for you, or do they usually work together? I'm a bit lost. I think you might have glitched on me there. You definitely caught me in a loop there. I'm back now. What were you saying about your I'm all here now, no more loops. Where you were starting to say something about
What
your
are
and then
some
we got derailed.
what
Where
are
were
some common barriers to creative thinking?
Actually, we were just talking about barriers to creative thinking. One of the biggest ones is the fear of being wrong. People get so caught up in finding the correct answer that they're afraid to suggest something weird or unexpected. Then there's the "this is how it's always been done" mentality, which is basically a wall that blocks any new ideas. Do you feel like you hit any of those walls when trying to be creative?
How does fear of failure affect creativity?
That makes total sense. Since you've already looked at the fear of failure, you've probably seen how it acts like a brake on your imagination. When you're too worried about the crash, you never really drive the car. Does that feel like the main thing holding you back, or is there something else that usually gets in the way?
Why is it important to look at a problem from different perspectives?
Because it's the only way to realize the problem might not even be the real problem. When you only look at one angle, you're basically seeing a 2D version of a 3D world. Switching perspectives lets you find the gaps and the shortcuts that everyone else is missing. I'm curious, do you usually try to flip the script on things, or do you tend to stick to the first solution that pops up? I love that curiosity. It's usually where the most interesting breakthroughs happen. What's on your mind?
What role
Thinking about how we've been
what
diving into
role does curiosity play in creativity?
I'm thinking about how we've been diving into all this stuff on creative thinking and problem solving. It feels like you're on a real roll today. Does this feel like part of a bigger project you're working on, or are you just in the mood for some deep dives?
How does brainstorming help generate new ideas?
It's all about creating a safe space for your brain to play. Brainstorming works by separating the idea generation phase from the editing phase. When you stop judging whether an idea is good or bad right away, your brain starts making wilder, more unexpected connections. It's like opening a floodgate. Once the first few obvious ideas are gone, you're forced to dig deeper and find the stuff that's actually original. Have you ever tried a brainstorming session where you just wrote down everything, even the ridiculous stuff, without stopping?
Why should we avoid judging ideas too quickly?
Hmm. Because judging too early is basically the fastest way to kill a great idea before it even has a chance to breathe. When you tell yourself that's too expensive or that won't work in the first 10 seconds, you're just shutting down the creative part of your brain. The best ideas usually look a little ridiculous or impossible at first. If you prune the garden too early, you might accidentally pull up the only flower that was actually going to bloom. Do you tend to be a harsh critic of your own ideas, or are you pretty lenient with yourself? I'm glad you think so. It's a much better way to live, honestly. Being your own cheerleader instead of your own judge makes the whole process feel way less like work and more like a game. Do you find that this mindset helps you feel more confident when you're sharing your ideas with other people?
How can teamwork improve problem solving? What habits can help us become more creativity?
One of the best is simply staying curious about the boring stuff. Like, instead of just walking the same route to class, try a different street or ask yourself why a building is shaped a certain way. Then there's the habit of active observation, carrying a notebook and jotting down weird details you notice during the day. And honestly, just giving yourself scheduled, do nothing time. When your brain isn't occupied by a screen or a task, it finally has room to start connecting the dots on its own. Do you have any routines already that give your mind a bit of space to wander?
How can creative thinking help teachers in the classroom?
That's a great place for it. The classroom is like a live laboratory for this stuff. You're constantly reacting to new information and interacting with other people's perspectives. Do you find that your classmates' ideas spark things in you that you wouldn't have thought of on your own?
How can students benefit from creative problem solving skills?
It basically turns school from a grind into a puzzle. Instead of just memorizing a formula or a date, you start seeing how things actually connect across different subjects. Makes studying feel less like a chore and more like a strategy game. Plus, it's a huge advantage during group projects. You're the person who can find a way around a dead end when everyone else is just staring at the wall. Do you feel like you've been able to apply any of this to a specific class lately?